This is 40K Today. 40K News so impressive in its stat line. Under wounds, it says no. Hi there, 40K fans, and welcome to 40K Today. This is your 15-minute daily news and interviews show that covers the whole hobby of Warhammer 40,000. We get competitive on the tabletop. We paint and kit bash with the best in the business. We find hobby tips, and we meet the most amazing people in our all-round awesome community. Today's Monday, the 11th of May, and we've got to say Happy Mother's Day for yesterday to folks in the States and Australia and New Zealand. There's a big-time hero focus in today's show. We meet a couple of people who, in different ways, have gone a long way out of their way to support the hobby. In a few minutes, we're going to speak to Boris Mishev, one of the UK's top players and the man behind London's Bad Moon Cafe. He's just raised a heap of money for a great cause. And Neil Kerr is the chief judge at the 40K World Team Champs. That's a big, big job. So we ask him, what makes him keep wanting to do it year after year after year? First up, though, we've got a poll question live on the Facebook page, so let's kick things off with that. Our 40K Today poll question for the week, live on our Facebook page as of right now, is this. Is proxying models acceptable in games of 40K? We want to know about your experiences. Maybe proxying weapons is okay, maybe whole models if they look similar, but how far is too far? Is there any such thing as too far? Maybe for you, anything goes and you just don't care. Let us know what you think on Facebook as soon as this episode is over. In fact, if you want to go there now and have a cheeky go at the poll, you can, and then come back. A couple of things worth noting from the weekend. The Games Workshop web store is now open for more countries around the world. New Zealand, Australia, Italy, the USA can all order online as of a couple of days ago. So that's great news. And while we're at Games Workshop, the Warhammer community team has released a video to fill the hearts of Necron fans with joy. Well, as much joy as Necron fans can feel. The return of the Silent King will happen on May 23rd. They don't say what that means exactly. Is it a new model, new rules? Something good seems to be coming, and it's coming real soon. So if you haven't seen it, the link to the teaser video is in our show notes. Bad Moon Cafe in London has just run an auction online and raised a heap of money for a great cause. And they did it using the new Ketachan kernel model that pretty much everybody is clamoring to get hold of. I spoke to Boris Mishev, the owner of Bad Moon, about the auction and how he's been doing through the past few weeks. In London at Bad Moon Cafe. Boris, hello there. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me on again.
So, listen, let's talk about Bad Moon Cafe, first of all, through everything that has happened. When we spoke last time, it was one of our first episodes of 40K Today, and it was pre-everything happening. And so what I'd love to find out is, over the last few weeks, how have you been going, you guys at Bad Moon? Are you able to trade? Are you able to send stuff out? What's been going on for you?
So obviously as of the end of March, we were told by the government that we have to close down, which, we're primarily just a physical retail location. So virtually 100% of our ability to generate revenue is associated with us trading as a cafe and as a physical store. So it's been really, really challenging, obviously not being able to do that. Now, thankfully, the government here has a furlough scheme that has allowed us to retain all of our staff, and all of them have been able to receive 80% of their normal wage without working, which has been a huge help. And with a skeleton crew, very quickly we had to transform ourselves into some sort of an online retailer of hobby supplies.
Right.
And so we've been able to do a bit of trade as an online retailer, but honestly, it's nothing compared to being able to trade as a cafe and as a hobby store and as a destination.
And as far as the UK goes, what's your timeline? Do you have any idea as to when you might be able to start opening doors again?
So literally a couple of hours ago, we had a televised address by our Prime Minister that basically didn't say a whole lot, except that at the earliest from June 1st, we might be able to open as a store. Okay. So people might be able to come in and buy stuff, but not really stay to play a game or socialize.
Right.
Which the earliest that could happen is probably July 1st. But all of that is subject to monitoring kind of the key stats around the virus, and it's subject to change. So
Sure.
either way, it's going to be at least a month till we are able to open at all, and probably at least 2 months until we're able to open as normal.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, man. We really love what you guys do. So
Thank you.
let's talk about this auction that you ran. A lot of people are going to be by now familiar with the Catachan kernel model. I mean, it is going to be in super high demand because just a few got sent to gaming stores all around the world to kind of help, regenerate a bit of interest and get things going again. And every single store seems to be dealing with it in a slightly different way. So tell us what you guys decided to do with one of the models you received.
So we got 3 in total, which, Games Workshop did a little bit of a false advertising with this sort of big statement that, they're sending these models to help hobby shops survive. And, they sent 3 models per store, which at RRP of $20 or whatever it is, $60 isn't paying the rent bill or the staff costs. But be that as it may, we saw it as an opportunity to say, like, look, this isn't, these 3 models aren't going to save or break our store. Let's at least have one of them be auctioned off. I mean, we've been through a lot of hard times, but there's a lot of people in this country that have been through tougher times. And, my wife works in the NHS, which is the National Healthcare Service. She's a doctor, so she's out in the front lines. And so we decided as a team that the first one will auction off in our community, and all proceeds will go towards a group of charities that supports the NHS. So we did a 24-hour auction on Facebook, and the winner was actually James Otero, who runs Siege Studios, who is one of the big sort of commission painting studios out here in the UK. So James won with a bid of £300, which is obviously a lot of money, and then he very graciously chose to donate another £200 himself.
Wow!
For a total of £500, and then the London Wargaming Guild, which is kind of the biggest independent community of tabletop wargamers here in London that have been, big supporters of ours, and some of our most valued customers. Then they chose to donate another £250. So in total, we raised £750 for the NHS Charities in 24 hours, which was very, very humbling and quite, quite powerful, really.
Off the back of one 20 quid model. That is just amazing, man.
Correct.
That is really cool. Listen, kudos to James at Siege. We've had him on the show as well. He's a great guy, and that is a huge thing to do. And kudos to you as well for having the idea, for running it, for doing a great job. And if you can, please, from the 40K community, pass on to your wife. She's a hero, man. She deserves all of the praise and all of the support that we can all offer her and everybody else that's doing what she does. So thanks to you all the way around, mate.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on again.
That's Boris Mishev from Bad Moon Cafe. Now, if you're in the UK and you want to support the NHS Charities, we've included a link to that in our show notes. Next up on the program, Neil Kerr is the chief judge for the 40K World Team Champs. It's a heck of a job. He talks us through why he does it and what's involved in a minute.
Today's episode of 40K Today is brought to you by Frontline Gaming. Frontline Gaming is a one-stop shop for all your Warhammer hobby needs, discounted products, American-made gaming mats and terrain, and a full line of miniatures painting service and daily hobby content. And this can all be found at frontlinegaming.org.
Welcome back. It's been a rocky road for the fledgling 40K World Team Champs. I think that's fair to say. The inaugural competition was scheduled to be in Austria in August of this year. For obvious reasons, that will now not happen. Of course, the WTC has been around a long time as part of the ETC, and the split from that competition is still fresh as well. With all of that in mind, you wonder why Neil Kerr keeps coming back as head judge. John Damaris caught up with another Warhammer hero.
All right, thanks, Steve. Now let's talk to Neil Kerr, who is the head judge for the WTC, formerly of the ETC. Now, Neil, are you still involved with the ETC Warhammer 40K stuff, or is it just at the WTC now?
It's just at the WTC. Myself, Tom, and Ishik, the sort of three main organisers for the 40K side of ETC, we were the ones that sort of like led the move to break away and do our own thing.
And really, this is more about logistics. And allowing you to grow the event to the size that you want to grow it to, something like that. Is that kind of the impetus for the move?
More actually the fact that as a system, 40K would like to be in control of itself and be able to make decisions that affect make the decisions it needs to make to run the best event we can. And unfortunately, the nature of the ETC and how the ETC is organised, wasn't able to do that. So us, the teams, the captains, everyone involved took a vote, and it was overwhelming. 90-something% of people agreed that we should do it on our own.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about judging such a prestigious event. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure to get things right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I would say, the second most thankless job in the universe, being behind form moderation being the first. I don't know how you feel about it, but there's literally no making everyone happy all the time, because every time you make a ruling, obviously, if you have to step in and make a ruling, one party is going to be satisfied and another one might be a little frustrated. So how do you arbitrate all of that, and what drives you to take on, like I said, a very thankless job?
Well, I mean, the reasons I started refereeing was I was fed up. The ETC used to have a very bad reputation for cheating. Cheating was endemic. It was kind of part of the game at the ETC tournament. And I personally was fed up with it. And instead of just griping and complaining, I did something about it, and I quit playing to become the head referee there. So that was the driving factor, to clean the game up and make it more enjoyable for everybody. And that's what's kept me sort of doing it for the past, I think it's 7 years now I've been head referee.
That's amazing. And I mean, that's a big part of it, right? So if you're going to have a competitive endeavor, if you don't stamp out cheating, then it doesn't mean anything if you won. And that's what actually ends up in the end killing events like that. So the fact that you stepped in there, I'm just going to take a second and thank you, because without tireless efforts for people like you, people that organize it, and there's lots and lots of Warhammer heroes that do that kind of thing for all of our enjoyment, right? So, and I think I've heard a lot of players say that the WTC, let me speak correctly, is their favorite event, and a lot of that is the work that you guys are putting in.
Yeah, it's great when I hear that. It's sort of really nice to hear that, actually. I get told it quite a lot, and then I sort of blush when people say that. But yeah, it's a lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. I mean, I've been going to the ETC since 2009. So 11 years, 12. Well, it would have been 12th event this year if I went. And I go there because it's the people. If you ask anyone who goes to the WTC, ETC, it's the people there that sort of make it the event. And so I do that. And the reason I do this year in, year out is because of those people.
Yeah. So, like, the quote I like to give is, people come to that event or big events for the competition the first time, and they come back in the future for the people, right? So the friendships and stuff that you make is pretty amazing. Let me ask you really quick, where do you come down when you're judging an event like that? Are you a rules as written guy, like a raw guy, or are you GW's intent kind of guy? Like, where do you fall on that?
It's hard. It's one of these things. It's neither or on both at the same time. If something is clearly wrong, and it's just like everyone understands that it should not be able to happen this way, then we will rule it, as we believe intended. But most of the time, the rule is it is. We rule it that way. One of the things with the WTC is different from a lot of tournaments. We have our own FAQ, an FAQ that we work on all through the year with the involvement of all the teams who are playing. And we go through all the codexes, we go through the GW rules, we break down kind of the more janky interactions, and collectively decide the best way it should happen. So most of the time at the event, the rulings we make is a case of, here it is in black and white, be it in the codex, the rule books, the GW FAQs or FAQs. It's very rare that we have to make a ruling outside of something that's written down.
Right. So you're not often surprised by something that you hadn't thought about or hadn't seen before, which is great. I think that preparation is a big key to why the event can go off as well as it normally does. That leads me to my next question, and that's, if a player is going to be participating in the WTC, would you recommend that they submit their specific rules questions to you guys to get a ruling into the packet? So sometimes people know that they're kind of skirting the edge of, like, well, this can be interpreted this way, but it's much better for me if it's interpreted this way. Is that the kind of thing that you would encourage people to, like, just run by you guys to make sure you're going to be okay with it?
100%. All the captains, all the teams know how to submit the rules questions, and people do that. I mean, people ask me on Facebook randomly for my input, and yeah, because at the end of the day, if something is sort of, skirting very grey areas, you'll probably be disappointed, because when we normally rule when we have something that's very grey, we normally rule what we believe would be the right way to do it. That's when the sort of rules intended comes in. And one important thing to say, when we do rulings at the WTC, it's not just me making a ruling or one referee at one table making a ruling. If we don't have an answer in black and white, or a precedent from another question that is exactly the same situation, you can say in black and white, this is how it's already answered before, then no ruling is made without a quorum of the referees discussing it and deciding together. So
Fantastic.
So you don't have anyone sort of going rogue, and you don't have the situation where one person might say on one table one thing, and at the same time on another table a different answer's been given. And so even if we say make a decision that later on gets discussed or FAQ'd or whatever and is reversed, at least at the time everyone knows at our event that decision was made with all the referees talking together, all the referees deciding as a collective what to happen.
Right. And also, I mean, just as an observation, if you guys stand together on the ruling, then it's much harder to it's easy to attack a single person, but it's very difficult to say, well, this entire organization got it wrong. Right. So, this is what we all decided together, and you guys sort of bear that burden, because that is a burden. Like anytime you make a ruling, you open yourself up for criticism. So I commend you on that. Well, thanks, Neil, for jumping in and letting us know what it's all about, dude.
Thanks for having us.
That's Neil Kerr. Now, I have to say, from the point of view of someone who was supposed to be going to Austria in August to represent his country, we're pretty excited about next year and all of the promise it holds. Neil, thank you for doing the work you keep on doing. Okay, 40K folks, it's time for the model of the day.
It's the model of the day, the model of the day, the model of the day.
So our first model of the day for this week is one of the best renditions of one of the best psychers in the game. Ahriman on his disc never looked so good. Dillon Cartier is a commission painter, and his work is phenomenal. You won't believe this until you see it. The disc hovers above the swirling waters of the warp, and every millimeter of this model is blended and rendered in blues and purples and greens. It is stunning, stunning work and absolutely worth a look. The link is in our show notes. Go see the pictures on our Instagram and our Facebook. It is incredible. And that's it for today. Thanks for joining us. Hey, make sure you join us tomorrow on the show for a massive announcement. I don't want to give anything away right now, but there has been a lot of work happening behind the scenes over the past couple of weeks to bring you an incredible opportunity. This is big, people. If you're a 40K fan in any way at all, make sure you're listening tomorrow. A big thank you to our content producer, Alex Bainter, our technical producer, Seamus Ronan, and our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and social media producer, Tanya Gates, for all of their hard work once again putting the program together. And if you have anything you think we should feature on the show, please get in touch. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, for John Damaris, I'm Steve Joel, and that's what's happening in 40K today.